There is often much debate and at times confusion surrounding the function of the Mezzala, but the role is much simpler than it lets on, and when put into practice correctly, it can be one of the most important tools in your managerial kit bag. At its most basic and rudimentary level, the Mezzala is the widest central midfield player, or as Football Manager describes the role, a central player that likes to drift wide, essentially a central or half winger. Mezzala is a combination of the Italian words mezza and ala, which means half winger and can be best compared to the traditional number 8 as part of a midfield three, the player who contributes most frequently with attacking moves, exploits the half space, and arrives into the box with relish. Think of a more attack-minded box-to-box midfielder, but like any role, the Mezzala's function can be tailored depending on the preferences of the manager. One of the best examples would be Paul Pogba at Juventus. In Antonio Conte's famed 3-5-2, Pogba had a system which perfectly catered to his talents in the midfield three. Andrea Pirlo was a deep line tempo setter, one of Arturo Vidal or Claudio Marchisio would put in the hard yards and bring bundles of energy, and Pogba was ultimately given complete freedom to surge up the pitch and make things happen in the final third. On Football Manager, the core attributes that make up a top level Mezzala are passing, dribbling, decisions and first touch. As a player that will be looking to create, carry the team forward and work in tight pockets and in the half space, the Mezzala must be technically proficient and confident in close quarters. As the most creative midfielder in the side as well, it is almost canon to accompany any Mezzala with at least one defensive focused teammate in the middle of the park, which often means a 4-1-3-2 or a wide 4-3-3 are the best formations to utilise the specialised role, or even a 3-5-2 in the case of Conte's Invincibles. But now we know more about the role and how it functions, let's take a look at some of the best players that could operate there, starting with Kevin De Bruyne, who is one of football's most complete and multifunctional players. Able to operate in numerous roles, whether as a number 10, out wide, as a shadow striker, or even a deep line playmaker, the Belgian has played everywhere on the pitch. But more recently, as part of Pep Guardiola's now established 4-3-3, the City midfielder's role may be best described as a Mezzala. He's the creative release valve, collecting the ball deep and given license to gallop forward, usually out wide to create space and link up with City's ever-present overlapping fullbacks. From this heat map this season, you can see just how high and wide De Bruyne pushes up the pitch. The central areas are usually congested as teams look to condense the space and suffocate City's waves of attack, meaning De Bruyne often instinctively drifts wide to pull players out of position. Remember, the term Mezzala translates to half winger, so it's no surprise to see De Bruyne operated closer to the flanks and getting forward with such gusto. While we tend to associate Guardiola's team with intricate patterns of play and eye-pleasing triangles, De Bruyne actually whipped in the most crosses from open play of any central midfielder last season in the Premier League with 162. In fact, only Trent Alexander-Arnold, Adama Traore, Dwight McNeil and Andrew Robertson delivered more open play crosses than De Bruyne, a quartet of exclusively wide players. His assist for Ruben Dias in the 2-1 win over West Ham this season was emblematic of the Mezzala role that he's taken under Pep. With the Hammers proving difficult to penetrate centrally, De Bruyne collected the ball on the right byline before cutting infield and executing a pinpoint delivery into Dias's path, who duly tucked home with a bullet header. A clearer indication of De Bruyne's Mezzala role can be illustrated with the passes received and movements network. From this season, you can see he tends to collect the ball just wide of the half space and in that crucial area between the opposition midfield and defence, whilst his predominant focus is again to shift the ball out wide. Guardiola, who is deep wedded to the Cruyffian principles, i.e. the obsession with creating space and stretching the pitch, has often utilised Mezzalas across his career. At Barca, for example, it was Xavi and Iniesta pushing forward and linking up with Dani Alves and Eric Abidal. Now it's De Bruyne galloping forward and spreading the play for Manchester City. With Rodri sitting back, recycling play and procuring the ball when out of possession, De Bruyne has creative freedom to maraud forward and wreak havoc. Another example we can look at is Bernardo Silva, who has a similar function to De Bruyne on the other side of Guardiola's midfield three. From City's most used setup this season, you can see Rodri is usually flanked by two Mezzalas. Ilkay Gundogan has also embraced the new forward-thinking role this term and is now the Premier League's top goalscorer in 2021 with 9 goals. Guardiola told his City players that they needed more players to arrive into the box at the start of the season, and that shift in focus is clearly rubbed off on one or two of his players. But this is the mantra that has followed Silva for the majority of his time at the Etihad. You can see from his heat map this season, it's almost a mirror image of De Bruyne's on the opposite side of the pitch. If you didn't know any better, you would say it's almost reminiscent of a right winger and not a central midfielder, where Silva has played the majority of the games this campaign. Again, the half winger term comes into play here. Silva is literally tasked with collecting the ball deep, usually from Rodri, and pushing high into the half space on the right, waiting for an overlap from João Cancelo, while Kevin De Bruyne produces something similar on the left flank. You can see from his attributes on Football Manager 2021 that Silva is almost tailor-made to play as a Mezzala, and it is actually his preferred central midfield role. One player regularly thought of in the FM circuit when discussing the role of a Mezzala is Lazio's Sergej Milinkovic-Savic, who has shone as Simone Inzaghi's most forward-thinking central midfielder over the past few years. The Italian coach is a man of habit, rarely straying from his 3-5-2 system, which relies heavily on quick counter-attacks and midfield balance. It will come as no surprise that Lazio finished in the 1920 Serie A season with the most fast breaks of any club, scoring a league-high 9 from those quick counters. Milinkovic-Savic was central to that, with his driving runs and ball-carrying exploits helping Lazio push up the pitch with pace, precision, and often with devastating impact. In fact, his almost telepathic link-up with Ciro Immobile has been the cornerstone of the club's recent success. This season, the Milinkovic-Savic to Immobile assist-to-goal scorer record is Serie A's most prolific, while the towering Serb is enjoying one of his most fruitful campaigns with 5 goals and 7 assists. And like De Bruyne, as well as Silva, you can see from Milinkovic-Savic's heat map this season that he's a player that likes to collect the ball from deep and push high up the pitch, diagonally focusing almost entirely on exploiting the half space. For a player of such bulk and attacking prowess, his heat map somewhat contradicts our perception of what his style should be, but that hulking frame all but belies his world-class ability on the ball, and you can see he has the tendency to attack the half-winger space, though he does naturally drop deeper compared to Silva or De Bruyne, as Lazio are not a possession-heavy side. Luis Alberto can also be said to play a similar role on the other side of Inzaghi's three, with the Spaniard flanking one-time Liverpool anchorman Lucas on the left. He has been the creative force behind Lazio's ascent to the Champions League and continues to work beautifully in tandem with Milinkovic-Savic. This season, Alberto has made the second most passes into the final third as any player in the Serie A, illustrating his emphasis on getting on the ball and playing on the front foot with the first instinct to push forward in true Mezzala style. Rodrigo de Paul is the talismanic force pulling the strings for Udinese and making things happen. He, like Alberto, ranks very high for passes into the final third this season, with the Argentine registering the 4th most in Serie A. De Paul is also similar to Silva on FM21 in that he is almost a perfect Mezzala, with a role attributed as his best setting when playing in central midfield. With key attributes in passing, dribbling, first touch and vision, De Paul would make for the perfect Mezzala if you're looking to take Udinese to the next level or thinking of plundering their ranks. For the club this season, he has been their chief creator and reliable goal-getter, ranking first for both metrics in Serie A, while his heat map once more shows the Mezzala role in full swing, with the midfielder another who regularly inhabits the half space. The Little Zebras also play with a 3-man midfield, and De Paul, occupying the number 10 jersey, is naturally the man tasked with pushing high up the pitch and finding gaps. Other players you could associate with the Mezzala role include Nicolo Barella from Inter Milan, Mateo Kovacic from Chelsea, Saul from Atletico Madrid, and Naby Keita from Liverpool. Some slightly more budget options could include Tony Vilhena, Vitaly Buyalashki, and Randy Nteka. And 2 more wonderkids who could go on to become phenomenal Mezzalas include Moriba from Barcelona and Curtis Jones from Liverpool. So hopefully you've learned more about the Mezzala role and how it could be used in Football Manager. If there are any other players that you have used successfully in the Mezzala role, be sure to let us know. But until next time, we will see you very, very soon.